We'll try. I guess I'm going to have to go and start deleting some stuff from there. All right, so this will be kind of quick, I guess, but in task 2, what you have to come up with is project plan. If you've done any project management, it would be the same kind of project plan as you've done in your project management for your other projects that you have. So in your project plan, you have to sort of detail, when things are going to happen, what things are going to happen, the milestones, for each of those things. And actually, here's our first milestone, which is the submission of the plan. Some of you will be working in groups of 2, in which case you're going to have to assign every task that is part of the project plan to one or other or both of the people who are in the team. So all of that was going to have to be there. So some of the main things, I mean, the best way to look at it, I think, is how am I going to market? Because that's if you know how I'm going to market, you see how your marks are going to come, though, then you'll probably get it the right way, right? And so you need to have your milestones in there. Your milestones need to be in order. Milestones are, after 2 weeks, this will happen, and we'll have this evidence. After 4 weeks, this will happen, that type of thing. So those are going to be your milestones. And your first milestone is submission of the plan. Statement of work. Which is just basically saying this is what our project is. These are what we're going to achieve. These things, this is the limit of our work. Those other things we're not going to achieve. Basically, that's that kind of thing. So I've called it a scope document. Risks and contingencies, which some people call strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Basically, what you're to include there is some kind of statement of these things we realize could cause us problem in achieving our goal in this in delivering this this project, and these are the contingents. This is things that we're going to do to make sure that those risks do not overcome us. So that would be the risks and contingencies. Maybe I should download this, right? Because I'm sort of, yeah. Is that download? Be able to see it better than sort of looking at it in a window on D2L. Right, so roles and responsibilities, so that you must just state, I've already spoken about that, right? Then there should be some evidence that you have you've done some research. So there you would put your references in the way that I explained to you before. You should have a tab in your Word document which allows you to insert a citation using a style. You choose a style and stick with it. And then at the end of the when you finish the document, you can go and insert a bibliography. Well, you can call it references or bibliography or works cited. It's up to you. Okay, I'm gonna leave off talking about that now. And in fact, I'm gonna pause record. So this actual term, configuration management, is a term from ITIL. And as we said before, ITIL is a framework which is used to implement information technology service management. So we can do information technology service management using ITIL. ITIL has a number of processes. There's 26 of them. One of them, which seems to always be implemented, is incidents management, but we also talked about problem management, change management, and now we're talking about configuration management. And so these things are related. That's the reason why I'm mentioning them, is because they are related. So when we talked about change management, you can think, well, we make all these changes to a system, then what? Well, if we are keeping some kind of record which is up to date about the actual state of our system, we would call that configuration management, then change management and configuration management have to communicate together. And so, what happens is when we complete a change management cycle, that requires us to update the configuration management database. All right, so there's 4 parts to this lecture. And I don't know how many of those we'll do today. Perhaps only one or two. I don't know. But these are the four parts of the lecture. The last part's fairly short. It's like one slide. But there is a cycle to configuration management, just like there were cycles to the other things that we've been talking about: incidents management, um, problem management, and change management. There is a configuration model. So there's a theoretical base to this idea of configuration management. The implementation, the actual physical implementation of configuration management is going to require some kind of database system. And so there's a little bit about that. So let's then there's a bit here on overview. Certainly we'll get through that and we'll see how much of the rest of the stuff we get through. Right, so the idea of this slide is showing a process of how we would go about planning our configuration management. And you see the terms that we have here: identification, control, accounting, and evaluation. Before we go ahead and implement some kind of configuration management, we need to consider each of these things and sort of plan how we're going to do them. Identification, that would refer to what are the items that are going to be included in our configuration management database. So we have these things called CIs, configuration managements, configuration items. Our configuration control is, okay, so how are we going to control those things being input into the configuration management database and keeping that up to date? And then how are we going to check on that? So we call that our status accounting. And how are we going to make sure that it is correct? So only authorized components. I hope this all sounds familiar. Those were very important points in the change management processes that we talked about last time, right? The idea of change management, we use the word control like about 30 times, right? And so the idea of control suggests some kind of centralized management. And certainly with configuration management, you would have somewhere one centralized copy of a database which reflects your entire system. And so, yeah, the idea is that we manage, we control that very carefully in a centralized way. And that way, the easiest way to ensure that we don't have lots of errors in a system, and I'm sure you guys have done a little bit of database design or something like that, um, is if we remove all kinds of redundancies from it. And there are redundancies in the way that we represent the data, but there's also redundancies in how many copies of the data have we got running around the place, right? And it's okay to have multiple copies, but there should only be one where we do our updates. And that requires centralized management. Yeah, okay, so I guess this is just saying why we want to do it. And there's something there about decision making. Um, Decision making requires that the decision maker has good quality information, right? I mean, also there's something to do with experience and wisdom and that type of thing too. But the whole idea of information systems is to provide information of a quality so people can make decisions. And so certainly a configuration management system is that type of thing, right? Where the people that are making decisions about what equipment to buy, what processes to implement, what people to hire, those type of things, they have accurate information about their systems first. Okay, and so what are we going to store in a configuration management system? We have this term for it, and we call them configuration items. And configuration items can be lots of different things, as it shows here. They could be hardware, they can be software, and they can be documents. All right, so not just hardware and software, but all kinds of documents. And any of those can be configuration items. Here's some benefits from configuration management. Again, it just comes down to the fact that we have some kind of information about our system. And so any future changes or any decisions that we have to make about that are going to be a better quality because of that. And so we can identify costs, enable, oh, the disaster recovery is a nice idea too there. I'm sure that you've come across. And I hope that you can see how configuration management would help that. I mean, you need to, so not just to do with your data, which of course, you're doing backups and things like that, but actually knowing about the current status of all your processes and hardware and stuff is going to make it easier to sort of come back from any disaster. Disaster being, well, you could have a physical disaster where hardware and software is destroyed. But if you had good configuration management database, you'd got a picture of the situation before, and so you can go back to that. So I tried to make this point at the very start of the lesson, which is all of these processes sort of work together. So change management, financial management, incident management, continuity management. Continuity management has to do with what we just spoke about there, like for disaster recovery and any kinds of threats to the business. How do we overcome them in our system planning? So all of those things are uh, going to provide information which is going to be uploaded into our configuration management system, but also they're going to be informed by it. In other words, the configuration management system is going to take inputs from change management, financial management. These things will be used to update the configuration management, and then again, they will be informed by it. And so you see this two-way process here in this diagram. With our configuration management system, you can think of that as sort of big database. Each of these irregular shaped documents, each of those is a process. That's a process symbol. So these are things that are happening, and you can see the interrelationship between change management and configuration management, right? So we can't really do our changes and have them work well with our system unless we have a configuration management system that's up and working properly. And configuration management system has to be kept up to date by being informed from the change management system all the time. I think I'm going to stop there because I don't want to sort of push this particular thing. There's a lot in this lesson, and we'll sort of pick up the next bit next time. And also because I'm worried because we're going to run out of recording time, so I'm going to